Chapter 753, Tertiary Form, Lost Slayer. Wilbur's sword came slashing down ruthlessly, and a black crack appeared in the air between him and Benedict. Benedict's attack and body were split into two at once. He collapsed before he was even able to cry out in pain. Quaternary Form, Flame of the Imperial Dragon, Wilbur chanted as he looked at Tay. Tay, drenched in sweat, scrambled to howl, "I surrender. I swear my loyalty to you to the day I die, Master." The cultivators and ninjas trembled at those words. What kind of terror did this shadow-level cultivator feel for him to say those words like that? "I don't need your loyalty," Wilbur sneered, swinging his sword at Tay. A golden flame shot out toward Tay. It crashed through the black cracks in the air, disintegrating everything on its way to Tay. Tay let out another crazed roar, using all of his spiritual energy to light up with spiritual flames that shot into the sky. Outside of his body, the Siren God was now fully formed as well, a gigantic figure looming over a dozen meters and swirling with countless runes. That was his ultimate defensive move. Nevertheless, the flame of the Imperial Dragon had elements from the Dragon tribe, and that ultimate defense was targeted toward humans. The terrifying golden flame torched the Siren God to ashes, evaporating Tay into nothing. Wilbur put away the sword, looking around him with his hands behind his back. All the spiritual pressure faded, and everyone felt like they had been through hell and back. They trembled as they stared at Wilbur, the only person standing on the battlefield. There was no spiritual pressure coming from him now, and he looked impossibly normal. And yet, everyone now saw him as a god, someone who was not to be crossed. Even looking him in the eye felt blasphemous. The crowd lowered their heads, prostrating themselves to the ground, hardly daring to straighten up in the slightest. At that moment, Yumi was trembling with mixed emotions. She got to her feet slowly, holding up her feeble body as she stared at Wilbur in a shocked daze. This man had really won. He had beaten the 4 shadow-level beings on his own. His domain, the quadruple tyrant of no other, was terrifyingly powerful. None of the 4 shadow-level experts could even retaliate in the slightest. Yumi could hardly even imagine just what league this man's powers were in. She had won. This whole ordeal was finally over. The death of the 4 shadow-level experts made their respective families hardly a threat. Despite the fact that there were still sanctuary-level experts in the other 4 great families who would dare to rebel against someone like Wilbur. With Wilbur's support, all of Karatopia would be under Yumi's reign. The 4 great financial firms were going to have to make space in the market to placate her. She was going to dominate the cultivators' circle, all on her own. None of this had seemed possible mere minutes ago. The elites of the Gardner family, after a long silence, erupted into earth-shattering cheers. However, the elites of the 4 great families were trembling in horror and shock. They could hardly believe it even now. Their clan leaders, the 4 shadow-level experts, had been defeated and wiped out. Many of the elites reached out for their swords with trembling hands. They could not accept humiliation as horrifying as their clan leader's defeat, but did not have the courage to challenge Wilbur either. They trembled as they hesitated, their minds numb and blank. Revenge for the clan leaders. Just then, one of the Hexen cultivators stumbled toward Wilbur with his sword drawn.